Hello everyone, welcome to Better Tech. So today we have Waris Sagheer with us. Hello Waris,
Hi, Haseeb. How are
how
you?
are you today?
I'm doing great.
All right, so first of all, Waris, thank you very much for taking out the time and coming to this podcast. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you are welcome, and pleasure is all mine.
Sure. So Waris, why don't we start with a quick introduction of yourself? I mean, how is it going? What are you working on and things like those?
Sure. So my name is Waris Sagheer, as Haseeb you mentioned, and I work as a CTO for routing architecture in service provider Cisco Systems Group. So I lead the product development and solutions development and new technologies development. So that's part of my area. And I have been with Cisco for quite some time. It's been going to be around 23 years. And my journey has been that I started as an engineer, and then I became a network architect. Then I became the technical marketing architect, and then part of the product management. And now I look after over the CTO role. And so these are all different roles within Cisco. So if you people who don't know Cisco, Cisco is like you can consider a group of companies. So within Cisco, you have different roles and services. So there are different groups. Engineering is a different group, sales is a different group, service is a different group. So these are all the different. So I'm part of the product development and product management group. So basically where we build and the whole products and solutions and technologies. So that keeps me busy. And for last what 2015, I don't know by that at that time people even knew at that time what 5G was, and I've been involved in doing 5G globally since 2015. And I worked with pretty much, globally with all the top providers and helping them to get to 5G and now evolving the architectures towards the next generation.
That's awesome. And you talked about your journey at Cisco. So you have been like involved in various things, right? Hardcore technical
Yeah.
stuff, marketing, etc. So how do you find them? I mean, interrelated, different, challenging. I mean,
So,
how
so,
would you
so
say that?
so let me clarify one thing. So I have always been part of the development organization, basically people who are building, and I was always in the technical side. So in Cisco, the marketing is not the marketing. There's a marketing which outbound marketing, meaning where you see communications and outside and all the other stuff. When we use the word sometimes marketing, we're talking about product except development
All
part
right.
of the world. So my journey, because as an engineer and even now, so I'm deeply involved in from hardware development to software development to technologies development. And my journey started with when internet was coming up. So pretty much we created the whole backbones of the world and created the internet. And one of the pride we take in Cisco is basically today you are watching 4K videos and high definition videos over the world. There was a time it was not possible. So
Yeah.
building this whole, they call it the intelligent connectivity that enables all the applications, that has been focus of my group. That's what we built. So today, when you see hyperscalers or internet where they are going, all the backbones, most of them you will see Cisco
Yeah.
solutions there. Yeah.
Awesome. 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 Yeah. So before Cisco, I mean, how does that look before? I mean, you joined Cisco. You worked at other places. In what capacities?
So pretty much after my engineering, the only place I recall that the place I worked in Pakistan for a short time, one was a place called Appet, used to be
Okay.
Asia Pacific. So I worked as a supervisor there, and there was so that place basically I worked there for probably 7 to 8 months before I came to US.
All
And
right.
then I worked for a very short time for another company, which is Walt Disney, Go.com, or you can call it Disney Company for a short time, for 6 months. But pretty much after that, since 2001, I've been in Cisco in different roles. So different roles, different groups. Yeah.
And that's amazing. So you have been like working as a CTO. So what do you say to some of the unique challenges that a CTO has?
Very interesting question. So One of the big challenges as a CTO, so as a chief technology officer, what the role requires me to do is to be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, I'll give you an example that will help you to understand what exactly that role is. So I'm going to go back in time. So in 2015, somebody said, hey, 5G is coming and we need to look at that. So that's it. That's a problem statement. So let's say if I tell someone, hey, this is something coming, figure it out. When you figure it out, you don't know what the technology is. You don't know where the industry is. You don't know where the standards are going at that point of time.
Okay.
You don't know whether the technology will even be mature enough and eventually will be successful. Many technologies come and go, by the way. So if you see around, there were even with companies. So if you there was a big thing about Alexa and those things like that. Now you don't see them anymore. So things come and go. So from 5G perspective, to give you an idea, when you start looking at things, you are looking into a kind of a vague problem statement. So in this big world of 5G, you need to figure it out. What is your role? What products what technologies that you need to develop to solve that problem? So firstly, identify the problem. Secondly, find the solution. Thirdly, then you have to also big thing that you understand. It's not just about technology. It's about economics. It's about profitability. It's about whether the technology will be cheap and meaning cost effective or not. This is a huge part of the problem. There are many, many problems in the world you can go and solve, but if they are not cost effective, it's not going to fly. And
Yeah.
then lastly, like any problem. So I tell people who are looking that keep people talk about innovation and building new stuff, you have to find a problem. And that problem should be very, very tangible, that you can
Mm-hmm.
say, this is the problem, and you have to build an hypothesis to solve that problem. So as a CTO, you need to figure it out. Firstly, all those, you have to define your challenges, you have to define the solution, you have to work with people, you have to develop the industry also. So I have to go, and my team, we need to go and put the standard bodies. And basically, for example, in like I can tell you from radio access networks, like
Mm-hmm.
Aurora, my team contributed to some of the standard documents so that people can benefit out of it. At the end of the day, we want the world to also grow, not just us. So it's still a lot of things you will be figuring it out, and eventually you will be pursuing some of the stuff, some of the things you need to drop. So that's a big challenge. Even now, I'm working on multiple projects,
Mm.
but eventually only few of them will materialize and rest of them will go away. But the amount of work required to do that, to
Yeah.
reach to that point, that whether it is viable, this is what the industry wants. So just for me to touch to get a data point, I need to look. For me, the world is global. So when I think about, I'm going to look at, hey, what the Europe will be doing, Asia Pacific will be doing, Oceania will be doing, EMER, or Latin America, South America, North America. So this is my world. So I have to think about where the technology will go, how it will benefit, where transition. So you need to be very much aware what is going on in the world and what is basically the situation in the world also. From, if the market is down, you don't expect the technology to grow that much also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so those are the some high level challenges to do that. And then as one thing you need to also be aware in this, as a CTO role, you need to have a good understanding of your customers. You need to have a good understanding of the engineering side of the thing. You
Mm.
have to good understanding of product development from hardware to software, because I will be interacting with all the folks. So
Yeah.
I need to guide them. To guide them, I need to have a better understanding of those things. So we
Good.
need to have a blend of kind of expertise to develop those things.
Yeah, so very elaborative answer, and I mean it was very, very insightful, I would say. But I mean, you also mentioned that you have been involved with 5G since very early, right? It's 2015, and then you helped it roll out to all the providers, etc. So, can you help us understand what 5G really is and how it is different from its predecessors?
Yes, so good question. So firstly, G stands for generation.
Yeah.
So if you see 3GPP is the standard body that defines those generations. So if you see the world going back in time, in 90s there was 2G, and then Then, so it was about voice. Then came the 3G. 3G added some data. There came the 4G. So
Mm-hmm.
4G, we are looking at around 2008 timeframe. So every 10 years, there is one G, by the way, if you
Right.
roughly give and take. Now, 4G basically was a huge change from 3G in a perspective that you were able to do voice, video, and data.
Right.
You were not able to do that. So in a 3G, if you were go back in 2007 timeframe, uh, you cannot watch the videos on your phone. So
Mm.
when iPhone came in, that actually pushed the world that we need faster data connection. So always keep this in mind. And I'm going to explain the word 5G, but everything ties to an application. If
Mm.
there's an application, then you need something to fix this.
Okay. Yeah.
So iPhone brought the changed the mobility world because people, okay, I want to watch. This is my now computing device. I need to have the same connectivity. There came the 4G. So 4G added big time the video and by the way, it's a great technology and still and then all the globally it was deployed. Now it's like a de facto standard. What 5G brings is the immersive experience. So
Okay.
let me explain to you. So connectivity means it's like you connect and you do the plumbing everywhere. Immersive experience means I should be able to basically have a video virtual reality or call it extended reality, which is
Mm-hmm.
the term for AR, VR, or mixed reality. I should be able to do. I'm not basically limited by space or places where I can access the technology. Meaning, if I am in a flight, if I'm on a ship, cruise ship, or if I'm outside, I should be experiencing the same high speed connectivity that I'm getting at my place. That's one of the use cases of 5G.
Sure. Okay.
The other big use case of 5G is basically bringing the whole IoT, that we call it, or verticals that we call it, enterprises connectivity, or we call it massive machine type communication connectivity across the global connectivity there.
Okay.
So that is another use case for 5G to basically do that. And and the last part is the ultra reliable low latency. That's a huge change from 4G world.
Mm-hmm.
Ultra reliable low latency communication means very low latency communication for applications that were not wireless before. So, for
Okay.
example, teleprotection in a smart grid environment, or sensors, or so those things require very low latency. What exactly that means is that they have to improve the radio technologies to remove the inherent latencies it's already had. So just
Okay.
so better capacity, one use case, meaning higher throughput. We are looking at, if you see, so I'll give you an example. The 4G average speed globally was around, for folks, you look give and take 40 to 45 megabit per second, meaning you
Okay.
take your phone out, you do a speed test somewhere outside, you will see in a developed countries or non-developed, in a developed countries, you will see around 40 to 50 Mbps average.
Mm-hmm.
Now this speed is becoming 200 megabit per second.
Yep.
So think what 200 megabit per second means. That's a wireless at your home.
Mm.
Your wireless router at home, if you are getting a geek connectivity, 1 gigi, you will see around 200 to 300 megabit per second at home, depending on what kind of wireless router you are using. You may go up to 400 megabit per second. Same speed you can get outside. So now, if I want to do anything that requires high speed connectivity, I can do it outside. But at the same time, we also want that coverage to go beyond the urban areas, meaning rural areas, or you are in a remote area. You should be able to do that. Hence, the satellite stuff is also coming into the picture, right? So 5G is about immersive experience, is about global connectivity. It's about basically getting rid of all the barriers we had that we are limited by wires at that time. We want to have the same experience. And I'll just connect you to just better understand. Go back in time. So if you are in 2000 and 2000, 1999, at that time when the internet initially came in, we were limited by phone lines at one point
Yeah.
of time.
Dial-ups. Yeah.
Dial-up.
Fax modems. Yeah.
So what was the problem? You cannot do e-commerce was a challenge. Forget about any video. Even take picture download used to take a long time. Even software download.
Yeah,
All that barrier was removed when we moved to broadband connectivity, right?
absolutely.
So exactly the same phenomena you can experience here. So we are building intelligent pipes. When the pipes are there, then you put applications on top. You will not have the Netflix of the world if you wouldn't have these global high-speed connectivity. You
Yeah.
cannot you cannot send high definition video on the legacy. So think
Mhm.
about this, exactly the same phenomena we did for wireline. Now we want to do this for wireless.
Right. Yeah. So thanks for elaborating it. Now you touched upon like this like home users and then taking the same speed in at the palm of their hand when they're outside. That's a consumer, or you can say the end user side of things. But if we look at from an industrial standpoint, what do you think this 5G rollout and its adaptation is going to do with the industrial revolution? Or you can say how industries can benefit from this 5G transformation and availability.
So let me say this. 5G is about enterprise and
Okay.
industry. So consumer is just a byproduct of this.
Mm-hmm.
So in a 4G world, most of the use cases or revenue came from consumer. In 5G, is about enterprise. So
Okay.
again, going back to the economics part, firstly, it is about Industry 4.0. Now, going back to the consumer for the economics part, one of the huge, and I'll come back to your answer too. Keep this in mind. This is basically the industry needs to be profitable and find new revenues too in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Consumer is already there. So enterprise is a big part of it, and private 5G is a big part of it. So when I use our enterprise, this is what it means. It means from if you are in a campus, connect from connectivity to radio to wireless surveillance, to industry where the robots are there and you have wireless connect. You don't need a wire there from the plants from automation of the entire industry, private 5G mining, remote areas. All those are use cases for 5G. Healthcare, transportation, they're all the use cases of 5G. So wherever we had, and now even hospitals are deploying their own wireless networks. So think about this. If you go to, for example, a car company, a car, manufacturing plant, they have their own 5G network. If you go to, there are use cases where private jets, you need the thing they were doing in wireline. Now they use 5G to do this.
Yeah.
So it's a huge application for Industry 4.0.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and also, I mean, these days we have also seen quite a lot of remote work, flexible working environments, etc. And I mean, people are getting accustomed to working from their home or through remote places. So, I mean, what do you think this particular rollout has impact on the future of work, increased productivity, and general sort of collaboration?
That's basically, in fact, 5G is going to play a very major role, and I'll give you an example why. So, what is the major challenge of the? So, one is your urban areas where you may
Yeah.
have connectivity. The problem also becomes when you start to go towards the rural areas.
Yeah.
And now in rural areas, if you're going to go build a wireline network, you need to trench fiber, you need to have some sort of
Mm,
connection. That's a huge cost. How do you overcome that part? One of the great use cases is, how about you use wireless high-speed internet,
yeah.
which is basically call it a fixed wireless access that we call it FWA,
Mm-hmm.
or FWA high-speed broadband through a satellite. So that's another use case for that. So now what that will enable is places where we cannot go and we cannot provide connectivity, they will have connectivity. This is one of the major use cases in US right now, fixed wireless access.
Mm-hmm.
So look at what, or through satellite, like Starlink. If you have heard about this Starlink company, they are providing high speed connectivity up to 200 megabit per second, high speed connectivity in rural areas that did not have those options before. So one of the big thing about, if you want productivity and people, one of the thing is why people live many times closer. Once they start to move out, reduce the congestion, reduce the carbon footprint, and they have the access to the technology. They can upload, they can download. And when we talk about the reason high speed is important, because in this new world, people are uploading to their, high speed, big files or our social media, or they are doing whatever they want to do. They should not be limited by few megabit per second. They need a speed of 100 to 200. For me, I think 100 megabit per second should be the kind of the bare minimum should be there. For every user should have it globally. So it has a huge impact there.
Sure. And also, you have been involved in this rollout since over a decade now. I would say close to a decade now. So, and you have seen all these things, happening with the 5G transformation, etc. So, what are some of the key challenges that you have sort of seen? How those were overcome? How would you talk about that?
So there are two types of challenges. One is the infrastructure challenges, and one is the profitability challenges. So I'll explain you both. So think about this. Firstly, to go to 5G is a huge cost.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me give you a context to understand what cost even means here. Just in United States of America, to get the spectrum for 5G, big providers have spent around $100 billion just on the spectrum. This doesn't count the rollout. This doesn't count the build of the network. Just in USA, we are not talking about any part of the world, $100 billion. So, and then you need to transform the networks also, because a lot of virtualization is coming in. So the technologies have changed. The technologies needs to evolve. The pipes, the connectivity needs to evolve. Think about this. You can have a lot of, let's say, if your pipes are old, if they are thin, you cannot, so you need to go and upgrade your plumbing also. So there's huge investment at that part too. There's an operations part also. There's a lot of software. When the world moved from very appliances to a virtual decomposed world, you need the operational challenges too. Here comes the hyperscalers, meaning the cloud providers. So now things are moving to cloud. How do you have the cloud and the on-prem talk to each other seamlessly? You have to look at the operations model. And then here comes some of the other challenges, like fiber. Fiber is a huge challenge because many in a 5G, fiber is required. And fiber is very expensive to trench and all the other, and globally you do not have fiber everywhere available. So fiber challenges. Then you have your industry policy challenges, and now new spectrum is required. All those are set of challenges that were there, and people have overcome part of it. They're still doing it. Now the challenge in developed countries who have already adopted 5G, still, by the way, there's a big percentage in the world 5G has not been deployed, just to let you know. So there's a big part is, so for example, if just to give you a give and take, if there are 700 plus networks for LTE, as of now we have 300 networks in the world who are 5G. So you can see the difference, right? So there's a long way to go. And by the way, we are now talking about 5G advanced, just to let you know. So if you know, the 4G world used to be LTE, long-term evolution. Then then later there came LTE advanced. So the way so in a 5G world, 5G advanced, and then we are also now looking into 6G. Just to let you know, 6G is already been discussed about. Then the bigger challenge for the folks who have deployed for 5G, their challenge is, how do I make money out of this? So there was a lot of hype created. If you would look at the literature in 2016, hey, this is going to, $1 trillion coming in. The problem is this: there is no killer application today for 5G. And what I mean by that, let's say if I'm using 4G today, voice, video, and data as a consumer, if I do not have 5G, what I will not be able to do today, I won't be able to do everything if I don't even have a 5G. Because I don't have that killer, because video, voice, data all works fine on that. It doesn't mean that, and the only case for now for 5G is fixed wireless access. So from operator perspective, the way they can sell something new and make money out of this is fixed wireless access. So that's one of the big 5G use cases. Will there be 5G use? Absolutely, there will be 5G use cases. It's just a matter of time, because when iPhone came in, nobody realized that it is going to be a big thing, that you will have all those things. So this is how the industry has always worked. So those are the two challenges right now, and we need to have applications that may utilize the benefit of 5G. But that's something, for example, once you start to see those applications coming in, extended reality, immersive experience still needs to go a long way. So that's something I think is promising. With artificial intelligence coming into the picture, see, think about AI is going to make your life easier. So when people saw the chat GPT, they realized how much it can do for them. You will see something similar in every application out there.
Yeah, so I mean, you talked about, I mean, this extended reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, etc. And with the devices coming up, just like Apple released their Vision Pro and everything,
Yep.
so I think overall connectivity into the mix is going to ultimately provide users with all what you just said.
And this is what so think about this, just to something to think about. If we would have a pandemic in 1995, the world would have, think about what we would have done at that time. Today,
Yeah,
for voice, video, and data, we were able to function, and the world continued. People continue. Yes, there are jobs that you cannot do remotely, but all the other stuff, it's not that the world collapsed, right?
yeah,
What we would like to do in the future, God forbid if there's another, pandemic comes in, the world should just switch to a virtual world.
yeah,
That's basically it should be, that you should not be limited to the physical at all. Whatever we can, obviously, we still need store, people need to still buy the stuff, but at the same time, what we would like to do is we should just flip the switch. You should still have conferences, but your experience will be a lot more enriching rather than just a 2D experience.
yeah. You touched upon like what the advancements would be and what the future looks like. But I mean, from an industrial revolution standpoint, or I mean, in general, where do you see this transformation going? I mean, what advancements you see in 5G? You talked about 5G advanced, but I mean, how would you explain that?
So digital twin is a big topic, by the way, in the industry for 4.0. So apart from I talk in the when I use the word industry, are you talking about industrial stuff like car manufacturing vertical, or are you talking just industry in general?
In general.
So in general, so by the way, digital twin, in just to, because we talked about the industry. So digital twin means you have something, your physical stuff, and then you have a virtual world, and this part of the extended reality stuff too. Industry in general, what basically is still, as I told you, technology has to become cheaper.
Yeah.
As of now, we are fixing all the infrastructure issues,
Mm-hmm.
making it, software virtualization is going to be a major part of that stuff. And openness of the technology is other important aspect. So these are the details which, a general user do not see it, or in the technology world. What we would like to do is remove any proprietary stuff. So the reason you see the in IP or protocol, IP protocol has evolved over the years is the openness of the technology. Openness meaning you write something, I do something, and we should be able to talk to each other. Why? Because we are following a standard. It's
Yeah.
not that I'm going to build one secret sauce and you cannot talk to me. But there is like radio access networks. They have a huge proprietary stuff, and those, like companies, they tend to use this as their, and that what it does is basically, and what then does, it basically creates an environment where they are the only ones who can provide certain things. But recently, if you have noticed, there's a thing what happened in the world is called supply chain issue.
Yeah.
What the supply chain issue meant is, it's very simple, right? If you have only one seller, and if that seller says, hey, I don't have that stuff, what will you do? All you have to, are going to wait for it. What if I tell you there's another seller? That's
Mm-hmm.
what supply. So diversification of supply chain, meaning you have people you're not locked down to one vendor. You should be able to get stuff from other vendors. That's what the openness brings in the industry. So basically you're not locked in. So openness is a big part of the whole story. Enabling the technology to basically, and another big thing that you will see, whether it will go or not, that's something to be decided. The satellite is going to be an important part of this whole ecosystem also. So wireline, wireless, cellular, Wi-Fi, they're all different access technologies are going to come together to basically create a world where we can build high-speed applications and not limited by speed or latency.
Sure. So before we conclude, Waris, any closing remarks from your side?
No, it was, by the way, great talking to you, Haseeb, and certainly any questions are welcome. My only thing is, we have to go. We are going towards there's a long journey, and there's a lot to come in the industry, and there's a lot of work going on, and it goes back to every level. So there's a hardware industry, meaning from chip industry evolution to the software evolution to the ecosystem evolution. So the whole industry evolution is right now happening. So somebody, and it's really funny, back in when I was in the university, and somebody made a remark that, hey, everything has been done. What else to be done? And you would be surprised that think about this, the 90s were the emergence of internet. And then after 2000, there was the emergence of obviously high-speed internet, plus the mobility came in. Mobile was, people do not, mobile has been there for a long time, right?
Yeah.
But that device, one company changed the way you look at the mobility. Now it becomes your everything. And now this is a world where you are looking at artificial intelligence to basically make things simple for you, to offload your mundane task. That's the whole idea. It's not exactly going to replace human, but at the same time, you will have. So the technology will continue to evolve and refine. So there's a lot to come.
Right. So, Waris, thank you very much for your time today. It was very insightful, and I look forward to hosting you again sometime soon on a different topic and pick your brains on what your thoughts are on that.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Waris. Bye.
Bye.